Greetings, hello and welcome to Rehu Sport. We're going to look at Saturday's games for round 3 of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. Hasn't been the greatest competition. New Zealand teams have been giving the Aussies a bit of a shellacking, but we live in hope that the Aussies are going to step up and surprise and maybe win 3 games in a row, get to the final. Looking like a long shot, really is last chance saloon this weekend for the Aussie teams. Taking a look at the matchups for round 3. The Hurricanes and the Western Force are on the Friday night, so the 3 games we're looking at today. The Tars and the Crusaders. The Blues host the Brumbies, and the Chiefs travel all the way north to Townsville to take on the Queensland Reds. The Sunday game says Queenstown Events Centre. The Highlanders Rebels has been transferred to the inner west of Sydney. Of course, the Rebels can't travel outside Australia because of that COVID problem they've got in Victoria. So a bit of an issue. And I think even the Chiefs are looking at staying in Australia. They're due to host the Rebels next week in Hamilton. They're looking to stay in Sydney because the week after they've got the Waratahs. So the Hamilton crowd may be denied ringing their bells next week. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on there. Okay, first game is the Waratahs Crusaders. Interesting to note via Opta that 7 of the 8 last Super Rugby games between the Waratahs and the Crusaders have been won by the home team on the day, including the last 3 successive encounters. You'll remember the Waratahs a couple of years ago absolutely surprising the Crusaders in a pretty dour game. I think it was at the Sydney Cricket Ground, wasn't it? So, the Waratahs are in a rebuilding stage, but they do have a chance. I guess they'll be motivated by Jack Dempsey and his 50th game. He's moved to open side flanker in place of Charlie Gamble, who's got a calf problem. I tell you what, Charlie Gamble has been very impressive. Christchurch boy, I'm sure he would have loved to have taken on his Crusaders old mates, but he's not got the chance. Jack Dempsey plays his 50th game. So he's one of the changes to the starting 15. 2 new faces to the bench as well. Jack Wetton and Jeremy Williams form a new locking pairing. Sinclair and Douglas got crocked last week against the Blues. Mind you, Wetton got hit a couple of times too, big hits from his old mates. In the midfield, Isaiah Peresi recovers from a groin strain to join Forchetti in the midfield. And they've found a way also to bring Will Harrison in. He's at fullback. Jack Maddox goes to wing. So maybe they're going to experiment with the 2 playmakers. Will Harrison was really up for it when he came on, and he plays well above his weight. Love him. He's a brave little player, a bit like Damien McKenzie. So will they pair Donaldson and Harrison, try and get them doing a dual playmaker? That'll be interesting to see. On the bench, Sam Caird and Tapai Moiroa come on, and they've been running a 6-2 split in the last few weeks, but they've gone back to 5-3, which you would have thought against the Crusaders probably a 6-2 is quite a good idea because they've got some big bruising forwards. But nevertheless, here's the Crusaders team. Now, Ethan Blackadder and also Brody McAllister are out with head knocks this week. So Nathan Valour on the bench, that's his picture, looking very emotional and soft there, isn't he, for a front row forward. He may get his debut off the bench. Alatoa gets his 3 jersey back. A new locking pairing for the Crusaders as well. Barrett and Strange come into lock. Sam Whitelock gets a well-earned rest. He's on the bench this week. But I reckon if they can risk it, they might just leave him to stroll on at 70-ish or not at all. Havili Talitui comes in at 7 for Blackadder. And the other Havili, David Havili in the midfield, gets a rest. Dallas McLeod will start with Braden Enor on the midfield pairing there. The thing I love about Dallas McLeod, I've seen him a few times now, is his shoulders are very perpendicular to the try line. He runs very straight, challenges the inside shoulder of the defence, and that gives space outside. So I'm picking, if you're into the fantasy game, someone like Braden Edor might be a good pick because he's probably going to get loads of space with McLeod inside him. For this game, it's really hard to go past the Crusaders. They absolutely whitewashed the poor old Reds last week, and that'll give them some confidence. It's hard to see the Waratahs coming within 25 to 28 points of the Crusaders, but we live in hope. That's an interesting one. 7 of the last 8 times, home teams have won. So it's really the ball in the Waratahs' court to see if they can unsettle the Crusaders. All right, on to the next game, and that's the Blues and the Brumbies. And another stat here, the Blues have won 7 of their last 9 home games against the Brumbies. So looking good there for the Blues. Let's take a look at their team. So for the Blues, we see that Sotutu and Papali'i come in the loose forward trio to replace Akira Ioane and Blake Gibson. And don't forget now the Blues are at the top of the table by virtue of probably having the weakest two Aussie teams as their first two opponents, smashing the Rebels and then the Waratahs. So the Brumbies will be stiffer resistance, that's for sure. So Jared Cowley Toyota, he's played every game this season, 11 games so far. He's still in the starting 15. Pat on the back for him. And you'll see on the bench there, Paddy Tuipulotu and Alex Hodgman on the bench for the second week in a row, easing them back. One absentee is Ofa Tuongafasi. He's being rested because of knee and hand problems. And interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think if the Brumby scrum was up to their normal antics, you'd start Marcel Renata. But that's the confidence the Blues have got against the Brumby scrum. They've put him in this week, and Nepo Laulala is on the bench. It wouldn't surprise me, because it is Alaalatoa's 100th game for the Brumbies, that they do well this week, and they call Laulala on pretty early. So for the Brumbies, they have lost their two games, of course. A very tight one against the Crusaders, if you'll remember, 2 weeks ago, and the Chiefs last week for 21 points. So Alaalatoa, he's playing his 100th game for the franchise. Tom Cusack with his 50th. He comes into the team at number 7. And the guy that they'll be welcoming back with open arms is, of course, the halfback, the scrum half, Nick White. He's back after a hip flex, and I reckon he's worth 5 to 8 points for that team. He absolutely runs them. Another key player too is Connell McInerney. He starts at hooker, very tight hooker. He's not one of these fancy running guys that we've seen from them, like Lonergan in the last few weeks. And Fainga is on the bench too. Valetini and Stowers, they're swapped jersey. So Stowers moves to 8, Valetini to 6. And one guy that impressed me too that's also on the bench is Luke Raymer. He was only 21 earlier this week. And when he comes onto the paddock, he gives them a real boost. So, yeah, it's good to see the Brumbies, I think, tightening up a little bit in the forward pack. Alaalatoa's 100th game, Nick White there. It wouldn't surprise me if they get very close and maybe, just maybe, cause an upset. Because it's funny because last week I referred to the Blues as the flat track bullies, and somebody mentioned it, I think, on the breakdown earlier this week. They may get a shock at the resistance they meet against the Brumbies. Of course, they've got loads of confidence, but if Brumbies can build scoreboard pressure, let's say, I think they're going to surprise the Blues by 2 points. There's a big call. I'll probably be mocked for that one, but why not? Why not back the Aussies once in a while? All right, the last game on the Saturday night is the Reds. It's due to be 26 degrees in Townsville on Saturday evening, so it's going to be hot. Be interesting to see. It's not exactly Hamilton or Hautapu, that's for sure. So let's see if the Chiefs can get up in hot conditions. Of course, the Reds, oh my goodness, what do you say about their performance last week? Absolutely awful, wasn't it? So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I haven't got the Reds team here on my rundown. Where's that gone? That's an interesting one. Oh, there it is. I think that's it. There we are. Bit out of order. So, let's take a look at their team. Isaac Henry, his starting debut at inside centre. They've got the Fijian Flyers, Dongunu and Funivalu on the wings. And Funivalu has looked awesome. Wouldn't surprise me if he's a Wallaby by the end of the year. He's got some real wheels and he's great in the air. Now, after last week's performance against the Crusaders, McWright and Xander have been dropped. McWright was he was a bit flaky last week, I thought. Didn't play well at all. So Liam Wright is back to 7. Angus Scott Young, who's got some real starches, at 6. And Fotuaika at loose head. So that's going to be a big scrumming assignment for the Reds because the Chiefs have been absolute demons. All right, here is the Chiefs team. Now, they are 2 from 2, but interesting to note that they are the bottom of the Kiwi teams because they only have a points differential of 22. So the pressure's really on them to score points, get a bonus point. So it'll be a big challenge for them not only to win, but to hopefully get some points under their belt as well. So here's the Chiefs team. Interesting, they've won their last 5 super games on the bounce against the Reds, and they've conceded an average of only 10 points a game against the Reds in those last 5 games. So they'll look to lock them up in defence again too. 4 changes in the pack. Slater, I think, gets his first start for the year. Ta'avo comes back in the front row. On the bench in the front row, Ruben O'Neill comes back. He's had some head concussion issues. Mitchell Brown, the old warrior, he's had a couple of weeks off, so he'll be refreshed. He'll join Tupo Vai at lock. And Soakula gets the 6th jersey this week ahead of the old Rangatira Liam Messon, who is in the 20 jersey. In the back line, Jonah Lowe's got a bit of an issue injury-wise, so Chase Tiatia has moved to the left wing, Caleb Trask at fullback, and interesting to see there at 22 as well, Quinn Tupaia back on the bench early. So I don't know what they're doing with rehab, but a lot of these people like Artie Savia are coming back early, Quinn Tupaia. It's good to see, and obviously people are focused for that black jersey as well. They want to get on the field, show the selectors what they've got. So it'll be interesting to see Tupaia get a chance off the bench. As I mentioned, Highlanders Rebels. At this stage, the team lineups have not been named. I also didn't do a pick, did I, for the Chiefs and the Reds? I'm in a bit of a hurry today. I've got a meeting about half an hour, so I'm rushing. I reckon the Chiefs will swallow the Reds up by 15 points, but it's going to be tight until the last 5-10 minutes, and I think the heat is going to tell on the Chiefs too, so it'll be an interesting game. Let's say 15 points. Highlanders Rebels played at Leichhardt Oval, I think, in the west of Sydney, so away game for both teams, but I think the Highlanders have much too much for them, and they will win by 28. 28's my favourite number. Hope you enjoy Friday and Saturday and Sunday rugby. You know, let's, for the good of the competition, for the good of rugby, I think, in Australasia, we want to see Australia strong, so it'll be good. The onus is on them to step up, change the way they play, be more competitive in the contact area, drive the game a lot more, take the most of their opportunities. And, you know, as a rugby fan, I hope that they win maybe 1, perhaps 2, if they're very lucky, games this weekend. But, of course, form indicates they're not going to do that. But as a rugby fan, I'd like to see a bit of interest in the competition moving forward. All right, take care. Good luck with your viewing, your picks, and if you're playing fantasy or if you're having a bit of a flutter as well. And we'll see you early next week. Take care.